I think as most of you probably noticed in your programs, especially if you're looking at them now, may have a very interesting, intriguing bio. As you can tell, I mean, Mr. DeWeese has built his career being a conspiracy theorist. Very interesting, very dramatic. Probably has a background in the CIA. Who knows? Probably some black ops in there too. We're not quite sure exactly because the bio here wasn't exactly what he wanted us to talk about. So I'm going to let Tom talk about his background a little bit, and we very much appreciate his patience with us as we had put together the program. I think we got our information a little slightly, but it just goes to show the roundness and breadth of Tom DeWeese and what he brings to the table that just about everybody wants to write about who he is and what he does. So we're going to let Tom tell you a little more about him and what he's doing, and it's very interesting, and we appreciate having him here and have had him in the past.
Yeah, what he's referring to is that the bio that is in the program was actually written by the Southern Poverty Law Center in an attack against me. And I looked at it last night and I went, what? So, are you ready to get some energy in the fight to save America? Are you ready to get mad? Because that's what you've got to do before we can start to fight in the proper ways, and I'm going to give you some ideas on how to fight, but I'm going to give you some real reasons to be mad. I don't think I have to explain Agenda 21 to most of you in this audience. You know that in 1992, the United Nations created what it called a comprehensive blueprint to reorganize human society. Think of those words, reorganize human society. Social justice was the tool, environmental protection was the excuse. I've had many Greens come up to me and say, it doesn't matter how many rights you think you have, if you don't have a planet to stand on, what good are they going to do you? So that's the scare tactic that they have used to promote this program. And lots of people laughed at that idea, and they called it an impossible task. I call it a stupid task, reorganize human society. The Agenda 21 blueprint called for controlling and reducing energy consumption by major percentages. Cutting way back. Here we are, everybody's carrying around a cell phone, everybody's got a computer, all this modern technology, and these guys are saying we need to cut energy back to 1980, 1990 levels. Really? Why? We got all the energy in the world. Why do we need to do that? It called for the elimination of free markets and national sovereignty and independence, and the elimination of private property ownership. And it called for redistribution of wealth and a huge reduction in human populations. There are some non-governmental organizations like the Sierra Club, the Nature Conservancy, the Audubon Society. These guys believe we need to reduce the human population by over 1 billion people. I've seen some of them say that the Earth can only sustain 250 million people. And every time I hear one of these guys advocate this, I say, you get in line first. We'll all follow you. I haven't found anybody yet who will. No wonder people laughed at this and called it impossible. It was stupid. But the UN and its army of non-governmental organizations, along with obedient government officials, were undaunted. As they pressed forward, they, of course, attacked anyone who spoke ill of their blueprint. They called us liars and conspiracy theorists. One example, look in your program today and see what they called me. But they continued flooding governments at every level, pushing their unending flow of legislation, all designed to regulate nearly every human action. They put controls on how and where we can build our homes, controls on small farmers over the crops that they can grow and how they can grow them. And they impose controls on our own private transportation decisions. And quietly, step by step, Agenda 21 gained a foothold. Today, nobody's laughing. Agenda 21 policy can be found everywhere. Those stack and pack high-rises in smart growth communities, conservation easements in the rural areas, vast areas of the nation locked away from human use. This is Agenda 21. The issue is so vast, so overwhelming, that people rightfully have trouble wrapping their heads around it. It encompasses every aspect of our lives, from housing to jobs to education to health care to even gun control. We don't know where to go first. What do we start to fight? They have us so split up, but we don't know which direction to go in next. Now, in this age of sound bites, it's very difficult to, they tell us that people have an attention span of a gnat. And so you have to say everything in 1 or 2 words. I can't do a soundbite on Agenda 21 in 1 or 2 words, but I have done my best to break it down as to the easiest common denominator so you can understand what it is and what to do about it. Let me make it as simple as possible. There are 3 basic tactics that have been used to enforce it, put it on us. One is an attack, an all-out attack on private property ownership. 2 is a change of our system of representative government to one of non-elected regional councils that take government farther from the people. Why do you have so much trouble fighting City Hall? Because your elected representatives are giving up their authority, and they're giving it to non-elected regional councils or water boards or whatever it may be, and you go to your city councilman and you say, I've got a problem with this. You have to go to the water board. Go to that guy. He doesn't care what you think. He's got his own agenda. And the third way that they're putting this in place, they're funding it all through the creation of federal grants that come with very specific strings attached, meaning enforcement of the policy of Agenda 21 or Sustainable Development. In 2015, the proponents of this hidden and much denied blueprint became even more aggressive, determined to finish the job. Quite frankly, they're worried because we have delayed them. We have begun to push back, and they are desperate to get this thing done. So they've gotten aggressive. Just over 3 months ago in New York City, a horde of international delegates, UN officials, NGO activists, heads of state, including Barack Obama and even the Pope, converged to reaffirm the existence of this monster in our future. Basically, the United Nations rebooted Agenda 21, giving it a new name. It is now the 2030 Agenda. And they came up with a new deadline to finish it. What is that? Oh yeah, 2030. The 17 goals of the 2030 Agenda include details on controlling food supplies, corporate food factories over family farms. And you know, if you control the food, you control society. One goal includes establishment of universal health care. Well, we already have that. It's called Obamacare, but they want to make it even more. And if you control the availability of health care, you can control life. And that's one way to control population growth, isn't it? Another goal, puts strong focus on controlling the education system. Well, now we have Common Core. Common Core is the education curriculum of Agenda 21. It's all about behavior modification, not academics. And its purpose is for schools to produce the perfect global village idiots so that they don't question and they accept everything that's given to them. Duh is going to be the only word left in the dictionary. The 2030 Agenda is designed to create central control of the economy, primarily through redistribution of wealth, theft of your income for their schemes. And just as with Agenda 21, the primary tactic to controlling the economy in the 2030 Agenda is the taking of private property to dictate how and where you can live. It's also to control water and energy use and the creation of mega stack and pack cities where development is tightly controlled. Single-family homes are eliminated, taxes are high, rents are higher, shortages of housing is common. Agenda 2030 is everything that I've been warning about under Agenda 21 since 1992. There's nothing new here, nothing. It's just more powerful, and they're getting better organized. And should NGOs or your local officials try to convince you that none of the new 2030 Agenda actually means anything, that it's just a suggestion or a guideline, because that's what they've done for the last 15 years or so with Agenda 21 as we began to put a spotlight on it, the Southern Poverty Law Center and the rest of them say, oh, pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. Doesn't exist. Keep this quote in mind. The opening preamble of the 2030 Agenda document says, quote, all countries and all stakeholders, that's the NGOs, acting in collaborative partnership will implement this plan. There's no question here now. It's not just a suggestion. They will do this. But the 2030 Agenda was just one piece of the assault that was launched in 2015. It is basically the umbrella for a host of other actions. For example, at that same September New York summit at the UN, Obama's Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, announced the Strong Cities Network. Attorney General Lynch talked of creating a link between cities to learn new ways to lift up communities worldwide. What she means by this is the creation of a one-size-fits-all socialist society of human settlements. And where have we heard that language before? Oh yeah, Agenda 21 and its blueprint to reorganize human society. But the Strong Cities Network is much more than that. The idea for the Strong Cities Network that Obama and Lynch have endorsed and are building in cities all across America came from a United Nations NGO called the Institute for Strategic Dialogue, or the ISD. The ISD has set its sights on tackling extremism. Now, with the sudden focus on the potential danger to American cities from ISIS and terrorist attacks, it's reasonable for the average American to think that the Strong Cities Network is designed to help make our cities safer. That's what reasonable people would do, sane people would do. Lynch promised that the program is designed to beef up police enforcement to help crack down on inner-city violence and domestic terrorists. But according to the creators of the Strong Cities Network, the ISD, they don't mean radical Islamists. Far-right extremism is their battle cry. In fact, the ISD actually thinks right-wing extremism is a threat to Islam. Listen to this quote from the ISD documents. Listen to this carefully. Though the parliamentary manifestations of the radical right are nonviolent and operate within the rules of democracy, there remains confusion over the dangers of the growing presence of far-right extremism and the increasing legitimization of anti-immigration and anti-Islamic discourses. End quote. Do you get that? Strong Cities Network is the Obama response to your opposition to illegal immigration and the flood of Muslim refugees into our country. The Strong Cities Network is designed to put a blockade around you. Third, earlier this summer, to bring all of these plans together, Obama targeted every community in the nation, every neighborhood, to be completely reorganized and controlled by the federal government through a new HUD program called the Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing Rule. She'll love that term, Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing Rule, or the AFFH, which kind of could be pronounced AFA, but you know. In plain English, this instructs HUD to determine the breakdown of neighborhoods by income, race, religion, and national origin. It will determine specific percentages or quotas each neighborhood is required to have. Any community that has accepted a HUD grant in the past or in the future will now be forced to implement these rules. And almost every community has already accepted these grants as free money as they're imposing these smart growth programs. AFFH is the destruction of private property rights and property values and of your freedom of choice for where and how you live. With all the compassion for the poor that they talk about, the fact is Under AFFH, low-income families will be forced out of their homes, the victims of quotas and government social engineering. Imagine being forced to live in neighborhoods where you're not wanted and where you don't want to be. Obama calls that compassion and fairness. Worse, AFFH will take away local decision-making and control from your local elected city councils and county commissions. Community decisions will now be made by federal bureaucrats. That's AFFH. It's important you understand, as I said in the beginning, those three things: tackle property rights, creation of non-elected government councils, pay for it all by federal grants. The danger, the greatest danger of Agenda 21 is it's changing our system of government. The bigger government gets, the more money that's involved, the higher the corruption, and the less choices you have in life. That is what AFFH is designed to do: change our system of government. Don't forget that. That's the gotcha. And that's why we've been warning you about Agenda 21 all of these years. Remember, its purpose has always been to reorganize human society, and that includes your system of government. These three actions, the 2030 Agenda, the Strong Cities Network, and the AFFH rule that has been taken by the UN and Obama in 2015, are the noose around the neck of our once free nation. Question becomes, can we beat it? Can we stop it? Can we return liberty to our nation? The fact is, it's going to be tough until Barack Obama finally slithers out of the White House. He's very determined to finish the job. We aren't helped by the cowards in Congress who refuse to take any meaningful action to stop him. So what do we do? Well, first of all, I don't have time to go into a whole lot of details, but my organization, American Policy Center, has spent a great deal of time creating tools to help people. We've got an archives of articles on our website at americanpolicy.org. We've got tools there. I've got here with me this weekend, I've got this booklet that's up at our table on the third floor, Agenda 21 and how to stop it. There's some ideas. People have been using this, and we have been making some progress in some things. So please come up and visit us up there and get one of those. But I want to be very blunt, because I believe that you are here as a dedicated warrior that our nation so desperately needs right now, today. To begin with, the fight to stop them, first, forget about Congress. Our battle must be fought from the ground up, on the local level. If you start to change things at home, then pressure to change will travel up to your state legislature and eventually maybe even to the bumbleheads in Congress. You've got to show your opposition. You've got to make your voice heard. For the most part, your elected officials, from Congress to City Council, are weak and easily pliable. They are imposing these plans because they are surrounded and intimidated by these non-governmental organizations and these planners and federal agents. You've got to make them feel your pain. They keep doing it. They keep ignoring you because they don't feel any pain for it. Even if you sued them, you know who pays? You, the taxpayer, because the government pays the bills. You've got to make them personally feel pain. Focus on demanding protection of your private property rights. Sustainable development cannot be implemented without damaging private property rights. I've got on my website a resolution to protect citizens' property rights. And one of the ways we use this, you go into you get that 3 minutes while they sit on high looking down at you, the peasants. You get that 3 minutes to talk to them. Just go up to them and say, ladies, gentlemen, as you're bringing these plans and these planners into our community, I've just got one question for you. What guarantees do I have that you'll protect my property rights? I guarantee you that they'll sit there and go, oh, of course we will. Hey, I'm a property owner too. Smile at them. say, I'm really happy to hear you say that. But ladies, gentlemen, you can download this from our website. Watch them scramble now. And the horde of NGOs behind them going, oh, oh, they get all really nervous about that. Research. What are they doing? What are they planning? Find out if your city council or county commissioners are being pressured by NGOs to apply for these grants. If so, they must create opposition to block that application. I'm going to tell you something. In a little tiny town in New Hampshire, Rindge, New Hampshire, this is a community that they didn't know anything about Agenda 21. Nobody ever heard this stuff. They started noticing that their county government was doing something really weird. And they went to start to research it and look into it. Within 1 year, they had replaced every single member of that county board, and they passed a resolution that said, no, our local government cannot apply for a HUD grant without a referendum of the people. Jeez. Focus on demanding protection of your property rights. Sustainable development cannot be implemented without damaging your property rights. And keep this in mind. None of these plans that are being forced in your community are local. You can't do this alone. You must reach out to your friends, neighbors, and fellow activists. If you go in by yourself, they'll go blow you off. Go in and keep coming back in. You must become a mean, nasty, angry resident who will not yield. You and several others must attend every single public meeting that you can get into, not just city council, county commissioner, but the planning meetings, others that you can get into. Get to that mic every chance and that they give you, and do not be polite. Put a spotlight on the consequences of their actions. You know, Barack Obama has actually given us a gift here with the AFFH because it is Agenda 21, and it's no longer hidden in the dark. They've come out into the open, and that makes them vulnerable. They are plotting the demise of your freedom. They are nationalizing your home. They are destroying the investments of every property owner. Make private property ownership the center focus of your battle. I can't say it enough. It's time to demand that they start treating property owners like owners. You are not some chattel, some piece of, something that they can play with that just move you around on a chessboard at their will. You own it. Stand for it. After fighting them for more than 25 years, this is what I know. If you do nothing, then they will plunge ahead and care not one whit about you or the consequences on you. But if you make the commitment, if you disrupt your life and stand on the front lines and make them feel pain by shining a very bright light on them like the cockroaches that they are, they will back off, even if just for a moment. That's a victory, and we've got to start accepting small victories and build on them. Our problem is that our movement wants to go in, wave a sign, make a phone call, make an argument, go home. They know that. They sit and wait. And as soon as you're gone, they go, okay, let's go. Don't go home. Keep coming back until here's a victory. The day that they're in the back rooms with all their little NGO and planner buddies, and then the latest planner comes in and says, okay, here's the latest plan for you. And a little bead of sweat starts coming down the side of your county commissioner, and he hesitates. And the NGO says, what's the matter? He says, I can't do that. Do you know what those people out there will do to me if we try to do this? That's a victory, and that's what you need to work towards. I know that there are lots of battles to fight. No one, we have new battles that come up every single day, and half the time you're sitting there saying, what? That? The fact is that most of them actually lead back to Agenda 21, the source, the root. Now, you can keep trying to saw off the limbs, or you can destroy the root. Only you can make that choice. You can decide it's just too hard and shake your head and say, gee, what a shame. Or you can stand and fight. Fight them now and defeat them. Our nation, our culture, and your children's future depend on that decision. Thank you very much.